And 60 to 90% of your dis-ease, your lack of ease, is driven by our lifestyle choices. And we want to protect those around us that love us and that we love them back, because that's very important. Now, sustenance. How is all of this going to feed us and sustain us? Here's the meat of the issue. No meat there, but lots of wonderful, healthy foods. So we'll touch on some principles. Oh, I did say everything in moderation. Now we can all understand these equations, and we're going to look for a sweet spot right in the middle there. Yeah, two extremes. And how do we get there? Training and habits. First and foremost, the most boring part of it all, water. You know, how much do we need to drink? Is it really all that challenging? If we have pets, we give our pets water. You know, that's easy. We're not going to pour them a Diet Coke or alcohol or anything. So very simply described on a beautiful scan, same brain. On the left side, dehydrated. On the right side, hydrated. This is actually a competitive bodybuilder. When they're in competition, they do a lot of things to achieve that goal. There's a lot of cutting at the very end, a lot of dehydration, so they have a lot of definition. Came in, poor scan, later for his second scan, much more hydrated. Now this is just water. That's not even including any other toxins or molds or poor diet or medications or anything like that. But we can see, again, the changes, the pitting and the dehydration where it fills back more in the hydrated slide, the scalloping on the top. So again, this is just water, so important to have for us. And we just experienced it recently with all the dry weather. Everything's just whistling up. We don't want our body to whistle. So when we talk about the overarching theme of the clinic, looking holistically, I'm sure we've all heard gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, what's it mean to me? These items really do touch a very sensitive part of your brain that opiates also touch. It's your nucleus accumbens, it's your pleasure center, it's the inmate with the tin cup going back and forth on the rails of the cell, begging for these items. And that's why they are so hard to move away from. So speaking of gluten first, because it's always first in the list, causes widespread inflammation in the body. Again, not just, I hurt my ankle when I'm 12 and now it hurts again today and my hands are really stiff. But the inflammation that it causes body-wide and in your brain, it's a little bit like the static we just heard on this. The static on your radio when you used to be able to turn it in and out. And you could hear that song that you really liked, so you'd like listen, because you're like, okay, I got that a little bit. But if you could turn that static out or down, everything's just so much more enjoyable. So when we can remove the effects of gluten, the wheat family, we can reduce that inflammation, reduce the static. A lot of these symptoms or signals go away. Your gut is your outside inside. It's the same endothelial cells. So when we harm our gut with these foods, it's very much like having a sunburn on your inside. The skin sloughs, we can get leaky gut, and nutrients that aren't supposed to be where they are get out and do some things, and that's where the inflammation comes from. It's also very much like the lining of your guts, like shag carpeting. We want it to be nice and tall, but when we go in a certain area, it gets matted down, it becomes Berber. And in these areas, in these spaces, are where the nutrients leak through in the leaky gut. Specifically the gluten protein, and that's gliadin. So it breaks down into amino acids, which are the building blocks, and then lumped, and those can go through just fine. But when they're clumped together in a string, it's peptides, they don't really fit, but they'll squeeze their way through. The body doesn't understand that, it fights against it, that's where the inflammation is.